Hello, you beautiful soul. Welcome to the Mystic Visionary Podcast. This is Zia, and we're here to pick a word for the week. And if you don't know what that's about, go to the show notes, and there'll be links to my website. All right, let me get the box out here, and let me close my eyes and search around for the right word for today. What's it going to be? I think it's going to be this one right here. I tried to get away from it. The word is compassion. That is a really good word. Compassion. All right, I'm going to go meditate on compassion, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back from the meditation. Wow, I had something interesting happen that has never happened to me before. It was in the middle of the meditation. Actually, it was more towards the end. I was in this space of, I call it the 0 point field, where I just go and just try to go into that space in my third eye. And it's just darkness, and I have an iPad that I put on a weighted iPad that I put over my eyes. And I was pretty deep in meditation, and I was just thinking, trying to be a vibrational match for compassion and what information I needed to gather about compassion, which is what I always do. And I use my word and go into the field, and then information comes. Well, this time, all of a sudden, into this dark space came the number 6. And it was like a big number 6. It was crystal clear. It was almost like three-dimensional. I could see the sides of it. And it like scrolled away. And then a bigger number 6 came and just stayed there hovering. And then it went away. I'd never had a number come to me before. I'd never had anything with that much clarity. I've had things that come into my vision in that space that are usually kind of cloudy, but this one was like crystal clear. It's like I could reach out and touch it. So when I got done meditating, I figured, okay, I'm not into numerology, but I've got to look number 6 up and see what that means. Anyway, when I got it, it says, when I looked it up in numerology.com, it says the number 6 is the embodiment of the heart. It represents unconditional love and the ability to support, nurture, and heal. It is a powerful force of compassion and empathy, and its warm light is a beacon of hope. Its role is to use heart and soul to be of service to others. Well, when I saw that, I was like, of course it's about compassion. That's my word. Compassion is my word. And I don't know what to think of that I got that 6. It was just interesting, very interesting. But the other feeling, it's like, I get it. It's about heart. It's about compassion. It's about empathy. It's about caring. Compassion, that's what it is. Compassion is all those things and more. And as I meditated on that before the number 6 arrived, I was really focused thinking about how compassion needs to start with the self. And I know I talk about that a lot in other podcasts, but everything starts with the self. But it's true. It's like, if you show compassion to everybody else, that's wonderful. But if you don't show compassion to yourself, how can you really be a compassionate person? And so that's something that I've been working on lately in my own life. It's like showing myself compassion, self-love and acceptance and compassion. And I find it really difficult. It's like I have so much compassion for other people. I have so much self-acceptance of other people. But when it comes to me, I have such limits that I put on myself. I could show myself compassion or how can I be compassionate for that because of this thing or that thing? It's really interesting how I was having to really, in the meditation, look at myself and be compassionate towards myself. And then what happened was when I was trying to show myself compassion, it's like, what does that mean to be compassionate towards myself? I had to think about how I do it outwardly, like how I show compassion to another person. And then sense that feeling, like, why am I being compassionate towards them? I see something in them that needs this, well, like it said in this guide, it needs to be love and acceptance. And let me find it again. It says, let's see. It is unconditional love and the ability to support, nurture, and heal. So unconditional love. So what does that mean? It's unconditional love as you accept, when I'm looking at it outwardly, I accept another person exactly as they are without any conditions. They don't have to be different. They don't have to look different. They don't have to act different. They have to just be who they are. And I can love that person unconditionally. So then I look at myself and I go, okay, can I love myself unconditionally? And the answer to that most of the days is no. And I've been trying to bring that more into reality into my life, because I have all these conditions about what I should be, or things I should do, how much I should weigh, what I should look like, the things that I haven't done that I should do, all these shoulds. And it's like, I'm like the most critical of myself. I'm the most critical of anybody in the whole world. And that's not unconditionally loving. That's not compassionate. And I really don't believe that I can be 100% unconditionally loving and compassionate towards others if I don't practice that feeling on myself. And I think that's the question we all have to ask ourselves. Compassion is a beautiful thing. And it's beautiful to share compassion with others and to be compassionate. But it starts with that unconditional love of yourself. That's giving yourself compassion that you so easily would give to another person. So I think starting there is really critical. And as I laid there thinking about it and what that actually meant to me, is that I had to lay down a bunch of old beliefs that no longer serve me. And that's also a thing that's an ongoing, like self-actualization. It's like it takes this looking within to realize, what are these limits that are holding me back from being the fullest expression of myself? What are these beliefs that limit me in my own self-acceptance? And so letting go of these old, like deeply held beliefs that I have been programmed, or that have been programmed into me, I have to be willing to question that and get space between that and say, is this really true? Or is this something I've been holding as truth my entire life that I can now release? And when I start to break that down, I realize that most everything is a belief that doesn't necessarily true, that I don't necessarily have to hold. I've just been continuing to choose it over and over and over. It's like that story idea that I tell a story about whatever the situation. Like I have this great trauma story of being sexually molested as a kid and being a battered wife and having drug issues. Like I have these stories of this, these traumas that I can use whenever they need to be played, it's like an ace in the hole. So I have an excuse. Well, this happened to me, or it's because of my childhood and my trauma and blah blah blah. Not saying that stuff doesn't matter, or that stuff doesn't affect me as a person, but I can determine to what degree it affects me, and I can determine to what degree I use it as a crutch or a block. And I think I've come to the point where those things are blocks. And yes, I'll take the wisdom from that trauma. I'll take the wisdom from all that. That's what makes me who I am today. That's what makes me the compassionate person that I am. And I can leave all the disempowering stories and the I'm less than stories. Those are the things that are limiting me now, because I cannot unconditionally love myself, because I see myself with shame and I'm flawed, and I have all these stories that I tell about that. And that doesn't have to be true. I'm only holding that as truth. So those stories need to go. And in order for me to truly love myself unconditionally and to show compassion towards myself, I have to break down those old conditions that I'm only lovable if I help people. I'm only lovable if I weigh a certain weight. I'm only lovable if I behave in a certain way, or that I'm treating other people better than I treat myself. There's like all these crazy things that I've sort of built in as my systems. And I have to look at that and go, you know what? This is something I made up. This is something I can let go. What do I want to believe about this? And, the other part of this too is I've been doing a lot of studying on with Abraham and the law of attraction recently, and also with a couple of other teachers in that area of like parallel realities and being able to find these alternate spaces of consciousness that match or that are more aligned with the truth of my essence, So one of the things that I realize is that I can choose the thoughts that I want to think. I don't have to continue to believe these old programmed things that were put on me by my culture, by my family, by, all the programming that's done out there. So I can sit back and say, if I want to feel this vibrant, healthy life, then what are the thoughts that I want to think? If I want to feel self-confident and self-assured and give myself unconditional love, what kind of thoughts would I think for that? If I want to be compassionate towards myself, what are the things I would say to myself? What are the things how would I act and behave when it came to when I make a mistake, or when I say something silly or embarrass myself? Instead of chiding myself and putting myself down, it's like, what does that look like? How would I want to show compassion towards myself? I used to do a lot of inner child work, and I recognized that in my inner child, like how much shame and embarrassment she felt because she always felt like she was being judged by people. And I used to do this inner child work and convince her that she had nothing to be ashamed about. She was curious. She was inquisitive. She asked questions. And other people may have found that uncomfortable or thought that she was, wanting to know too much. That was on them, not on her, So there's this part of me that gets it. And I have shown myself that my inner child, or that young me, that understanding and compassion that I needed then that I didn't get. But now I need to take it to another level. I have to take it to this deeper level of self-compassion, where I am accepting myself exactly as I am, as perfection. It's like there is nothing broken. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There is nothing that's out of alignment or wrong or separate. I am connected. I am within this greater consciousness of unity. I am part of this love vibration that fills this whole world, just like you are. And whatever I put out into that field is coming back towards me as well as other people. I just have to open my heart to that, and I need to take away all these blockades and that I have put up as reasons why I can't accept that about myself. Those are all self-imposed. So when I take those away, then I can allow this compassion to come in. I can allow this unconditional love to come in. I can allow this self-acceptance to come in. It's it's always there. It's always been there. The only thing that has blocked it is all these rules and guidelines and things that I put up to criteria in order for me to meet these factors, and then I can be lovable, and then I can be nice to myself and compassionate towards myself. It's all just kind of a crazy programming game that we have to or I have to separate myself from. So that's the first part of this, and that's huge. I mean, I think everybody needs to look at that. It's like, if you can't give yourself unconditional love and compassion, how can you really give it to somebody else? So start there. And then the other part of it is this bigger, in the new paradigm compassion idea, which is that's acceptance. I mean, that's the unconditional love and acceptance for people wherever they're at, whatever they're doing, however they choose to live, and whatever they're doing to fulfill the callings of their heart. It's like that, being in support of one another in this quest for the fulfillment of our unfolding. And more, all the veils are being lifted, and people are connecting with their hearts. And this transition is really difficult because most people are going through what I just described. It's like, if you're going to follow your heart, and your family has always told you that this thing you wanted to do is frivolous and meaningless and you're never going to make any money at it, but you're really driven by your heart to do it, it's hard to allow yourself because you have these blocks. So I think what's happening is more and more people are showing themselves compassion and being more open to whatever's driving their hearts. And then in turn, they're living out from that inside out, and the compassion going out to other people is just intensified. And when you can allow yourself to be exactly who you want to be and what you want to do and how you want to live, then it's so much easier to let other people do the same thing. And when we get out of those boxes that we put ourselves in, then we're more free to let other people out of their boxes. And it's so important. I mean, that is the baseline for the new paradigm. It's like this nurturing, cooperative, self-supportive and supporting others, and going on these quests for following your heart, whatever that looks like, and discovery, and just being so open and honest and free to try things without fear. And we've been so saturated in fear that I think people are just rebelling. It's like, I cannot do that anymore. I have to get some freedom here. And I think that that's where it starts. This compassion needs to come back in the new paradigm. It's like, we really need to have compassion. We've had so much separation and so much finger pointing at one another and taking sides. I mean, that really needs to end. There's no other way. It has to end. And I think that that's what compassion will do. Compassion is just acceptance and understanding and empathy and all the things that are good. And it happens naturally when people allow themselves to do it and experience it. It's just breaking down all those old rules. And there's a lot of those old rules. When I think about it, boy, we're so judgmental, or so sent on these pathways. If you're a good person, you do these. You have a checklist of all the things that if you accomplish or you do, then that makes you a good person and successful. And if you don't do those things, then that makes you, unsuccessful and a failure. And then we judge people. It's like, oh, well, if that guy would have done this and this and this, he wouldn't be in that position. Well, maybe that guy doesn't fit into that idea, which most people don't. That's the other thing we have to realize. It's like, compassion is allowing people to express their unique self. And what that means is that they're different than you. Each person is unique creation. It's a combination of all your life experiences and your innate, born in you drive for whatever that wants to unfold. And it's this creative drive, and it doesn't mean you have to be like an artist. It just means you have a drive to create something or be something or do something. And it's like it's different for each of us, but then we've been taught to be conformists, to conform and to follow these these routes, that these are your choices, this is what you should do. And that is not what the new paradigm is about, and people are finding that. And so in order for us to really get behind and hold space for the new paradigm, having that compassion for other people who are trying to find their way, being led by their heart. And that requires us each to give people space and show them compassion and also be helpful. And it's like showing compassion is helpful. Like if somebody's trying to find their way and they have to find it themselves, well, the greatest thing you can do for them is be compassionate towards them. I know that's what I'm looking for. And I have to say that one of the greatest gifts that I've gotten in this part of my life is my relationship with my partner, Larry, who accepts me exactly as I am, celebrates my genius, he calls it, my divine design, my creative genius. And he loves me and supports me in that. And there's no criticism, there's no judgment, there's compassion, there's acceptance, there's support, there's empathy. I feel blessed, and I think we should all practice that towards one another and towards ourselves. That's what compassion is. Well, I think I'll stop there. I'm at 20 minutes, so I'm going to cut it off. But I'm happy to have talked about that word today, compassion. And I hope you start with yourself and show yourself the compassion you deserve, and then let it flow out from there. All right, I'll be back next week with a new word. If you want to learn more about the 5 guiding principles of the new paradigm, you can listen to my audiobook, which is The Pocket Guide to the New Paradigm, which is a free audiobook on YouTube. I'll link it below. And the other thing that I have available is the Heart Archetype Quiz. It's a short quiz that answers the question, am I listening to the call of my heart? And you take the quiz and you'll discover what might be blocking you from living the call of your heart. And I think that's what we're all being called to do right now, is to look inside, connect with our heart, and follow its guidance. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. You can also leave those below.